course explaining what again cybersecurity is, what hacking is, and what ethical hacking is, and the day-to-day operations of. So before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my end, guys. My name is Mohammed. Yeah, again, once this course is done, you will be ready to write the certification exam. For the entire main agenda is you're ready to. And I've been training with Durga for the last 3-4 years. I suppose certified ethical hacking. I've been in this domain for the last 7 years. Planning on writing a certification, you will be eligible to write that as a penetration tester, then shifted slowly towards web application pen testing. My expertise is in web application pen testing.
So
And I also
can I
have my
get the
experience on security
course
operations.
content?
Yeah, again, you can let me drop it in the chat box itself. I think it's available on the official website as well. The course that is taken up by students usually to get into this domain of cybersecurity is called Certified Ethical Hacking. That's the first fundamental course that you always take up to understand what cybersecurity is, to understand what hacking is, what ethical hacking is. The course duration, as mentioned, is for 35 days, guys, in an organization, from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour. And this course is provided by an organization called EC Council, one of the most well-recognized organizations. Did you get the file? Very well-known certifications in the same edition of cybersecurity. Okay. Now, when we talk about this, fee is 8,000 rupees, guys. It runs on version. That is, I would say, the lowest price available in a few years. This version gets or any institute for that matter. I've been training for a lot of institutes. The latest cyber trends. I currently train for this Durga, and the older ones, and another one in Bangalore adapted out. Wouldn't want to name them. So yeah, let's get started without any further double what Durga Soft is providing it for. Before we same content, the same questions or doubts. But again, I think we get into the change in the institute's pricing. You can let me know, please. Do not hesitate to ask a very fair price. If you have anything about that, I would say very criminal. Wouldn't want to name other institutes are charging more than that. Ashish, any questions? Mallikarjun, any questions? Yeah, that's that. Any other questions also? Drop the course content in the chat box, guys. So we'll start with the. Oh yeah, Mallikarjun, you see.
Yeah, nothing.
Akash. So now we'll start with the definition, guys. So a lot of students have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking are. Akash, did you join the session yesterday? Let me clear that up first.
No, sir.
So when we talk about hacking, guys, no worries, guys. Just in case if you want to gain access, more students will take a longer session tomorrow. We'll have a demo by tomorrow. As if I were tomorrow, I'll be talking about let's say if I hack your computer. That's basically means that complete remote control of
35 days. So all the topics.
So without even your permission and without your knowledge, we will be covering all the 5 data on your computer, information gathering, scanning, destroying access, deleting from access, and reporting and permanent traces. And you would have. So those are the 5 main topics I would say. Under those, you have those various subtopics for different attacks and defense. For his own personal benefit, 35 duration course will be completing all those topics which I've mentioned. When we talk about hacking, it is documentation of trying to gain access to information.
And what about the practical side?
These information systems. All of those topics are practical. So example of a small computer. Okay, so all of those will be working on again in all of those hackers will be working on the same tools that are used in large databases, tools like Nmap, servers, enable Nessus. So this can be performed on any sort of information system without John the permission and aircraft -ng organization. All of these are the same tools used in organizations. And this is usually performed by hackers on different endpoints, different devices. Sometimes hackers are solely working on all of that. And for this entire practical part, we'll have a lab simulation. So there'll be a tool called VMware Hacking is such a malicious. This is a virtualization software. Criminal. It allows you to install multiple other operating systems. So this will act as your lab ethical in the first place. Because ethical is something which is practical, is this entire simulation. And this when you talk about ethical hacking, don't worry, all these this is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. In the course terminology, you don't have to pay anything else for any something. Even if they are paid across a lot of coming cracked versions of it. I'll define it. Other than that, most of them are open source itself. Just in case if there's a pro tool and automated on the device, which requires your job as an ethical hacker is to find these. You have to pay nothing. I would say literally zero for the tools. Whatever content and one again, whatever price you're paying, it's for the entire course and back to the company, the video lecture, the organization, and so that they can remediate it. They can apply the necessary patches and remove those vulnerabilities. Because these are the same vulnerabilities which hackers use to exploit them and take advantage. Any other questions? Get access to your devices.
No,
so your job as an ethical hacker is to find these vulnerabilities. Do join the session tomorrow. With the permission, talking about a new topic called working fund and reported back, which is
okay.
Like the earliest. And this course includes all the prerequisites as well. You don't have to learn anything else from anywhere. Depending on joining this course of hacking, other institutes might not have understood what cyber criminals have all the network basics, all the Linux command basics, professional. but there's one more category included in the course. So when you talk about the complete list of fundamentals are covered, then we dive three categories: cybersecurity, someone known as a white hat hacker.
Okay.
We'll join the session tomorrow at the same time. Black hat hacker. Your black hat hackers are your typical cyber criminals who perform hacking for their own benefit or for fun, without asking for consent. So
Sir,
these are the
over
cyber
the
criminals. I would say.
Telegram,
On the other end
under
of the spectrum, we have
cybersecurity,
the
the
good
Zoom
guys, which are
invite
the
sent
ethical
is
hackers or white hat hackers.
redirecting
So white
us
hat
to
hackers are people who
Azure
abide by the laws and
data,
policies
some
of the
course,
organization,
different
and they
course.
work for securing the organization's infrastructure when the chat from various cyber threats. And in between now, there's a third
The
mysterious category called Telegram. I don't see anything called Telegram. These are the people who have both the qualities of black hat as well as white hat combined. So like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission
so
first.
the
They
Durga
don't take,
Soft
again, they do
Telegram,
not follow all the rules and regulations that the company might put up. But once they do find a vulnerability, the Telegram, rather than misusing it, they would report it back to the company like a white hat hacker.
what
But
I
again,
the Zoom
there's this
invite
minor catch.
to
They
join
won't
your
do it for
class.
free. They do it in return for a bounty. A
So
bounty
if
is like a
I was
financial
clicking on
reward
that
they
and
expect in return
it was
for reporting that
pushing me
vulnerability
to
to the
Azure
organization,
course.
for disclosing it to the organization. So again, they're working both
So that might
offensively
be one
and
of the reason
defensively
that
at various stages.
student might
And
be
again, for
puzzled.
their own personal benefit itself, for their own financial
I'll check
benefit.
that out with the institute.
But they're not
Thanks for
harming
bringing
the
that to
systems
my
in any
notice.
way.
Because the invite
So for
which
a
I
minor
get is
price,
not the
they're
same which
returning
you
back
guys get.
information.
I think I get a
regarding the
completely
vulnerability
different
to the
email.
organization itself.
If I
So
just
they're
show
hunting for
you.
bugs or vulnerabilities in return for bounty. And therefore, they're also commonly known as bug bounty. Okay, hunting for bugs in return for a small financial reward, or also commonly known as a bounty. Okay. Now, no matter what category of a hacker you talk about here, whether it be black hat
Because it
hackers or
took
grey hat
me
hackers
5-10 minutes
or white hat
to
hackers,
join the
they
link
perform
today.
hacking or ethical
Acha.
hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is the same which is followed in every organization in the world.
Because this is what I get.
And that procedure is commonly
So I
called
don't
as
see any
cyber
Telegram
encryption.
link of any sort. I
Some
just have a join
organizations
the
also
meeting.
refer to this as hacking.
If I
Got
click
it.
on that, I
So these
directly get
terms
the
can be
link.
used
Yeah,
interchangeably.
so I did the
Okay.
same.
To
I then
define it,
enrolled
it is a
over
procedure
it and
that
then to
hackers
the
follow to perform successful
email I
cyber
got
attack.
and then I
Okay. And
joined
the
it.
same knowledge of this procedure
Acha.
also allows
I'll let
cyber
the
security
institute know.
professionals, which are
Thanks for
your
bringing that
ethical
to my
hackers,
maybe that
to
was
understand
what
how
was
these
causing
attacks are
this issue.
being performed,
I'll
to
let them
detect
know.
these attacks
Thanks
at
for
the
letting me know.
earliest stage possible and prevent them at every
Okay.
level of the
So yeah,
organization.
we'll disconnect
So
here, guys.
unless and
Tomorrow,
until
as
you know
mentioned,
how
we'll take
the
a longer
attacks can
session.
be
As
performed,
promised, we'll
you
talk
never
about
know how to
networking.
define
What's the
what
first topic for
exactly
cybersecurity?
attacks.
Understanding what
So
IT
understanding
attacks
ethical
are,
hacking
what
involves
the
a lot of your time
protocols
being
are,
spent
what
on
is
understanding
DHCP
how
protocol, what
hacking
is
is
DNS
performed.
protocol,
Okay. So
what
if
are
you
the
want to
categories of IP addresses, what are public
as a
private
security
IPs,
for an
classes and
organization,
IPs.
you need to
We'll
know
talk
what
about all
loopholes
that
exist in the
before.
first place. And
That's
how you
important for
can basically
cybersecurity.
exploit those loopholes. So yeah,
All those
so
prerequisites will be
knows
included
what
in
the
the course
loopholes are.
itself.
And a
You
good
do not
policeman
have to learn
knows
anything
what the
before
keywords
joining
usually
this
look
course,
for.
guys.
Okay.
You can start
So
from
again,
scratch.
cyber kill chain or ethical hacking is the same
Thanks for
technique
joining
followed
today,
by
guys. We'll
hackers
connect back
as well
tomorrow
as its
at the same
Sure,
time.
sir. Thank you.
And but this is used in the organizations for our
Thank you, sir.
advantage
Thank
to
you.
prevent these cyber threats in today's world. Okay. And your cyber kill chain consists of 5 important steps. First step is called as information gathering. Second step is called as scanning. Third step is gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is reporting or clearing traces. Now, these are the same exact 5 steps that any organizations follow, basically to understand what cyber threats could be possible in their organization and how do you prevent them. Okay. Now, our course also focuses on these 5 steps itself. Okay, so the entire course would be revolving basically around these 5 simple steps. Okay. And in today's demo, I'll give you a brief explanation on what each of these steps are one by one. Okay. Any questions or doubts up to this point before we progress further? Anyone?
No, sir.
Right, guys. So yeah, let's get into each of these steps one by one so you have a better understanding about the entire course and what topics we'll be covering throughout the entire sessions. Okay. So the first step is called as information gathering. Now, the main agenda for this step, which is also commonly known as reconnaissance or footprinting, is you gather as much data as possible about the target organization. Okay. But an important point to note here is all of this information is obtained passively. What I mean by passively is if I were a hacker or an ethical hacker, I would try to get as much information or data as possible about the organization discreetly, without making any contact with the organization, without letting them know. Again, without giving them any hints, I'll try to get as much data as possible. That's what passively means. Okay. So all of this data is obtained from mostly third-party services or third-party websites on the internet. Okay. So there's a lot of websites on the internet which can give you information about a lot of organizations. Right. So what we'll be using is those websites itself in this phase. Okay. But the main question that arises here is what kind of data you're searching for. And this here is the data as follows. So as an ethical hacker or a hacker, these pieces of information are very crucial for you to obtain during the information gathering phase. And believe it or not, all of this data is readily available for any organization. Nothing illegal. This information is given out by the organization itself. But again, it's scattered across the internet. So we'll be learning what those tools are, what those websites are, from where you can collect all that data from one single place. Okay. So there, again, when you talk about information required, what data you need to gather, we need the IP addresses or the group of IPs belonging to the organization, which is also commonly known as network blocks. Then we need the who's records, giving you information on who's hosting the website for them. Then the DNS records, then the domains and subdomains, operating system information, employee details, contact numbers of the employees, email addresses of the employees, and usernames and passwords. Believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on the internet. The only thing is you need to know what those websites are, what those gold mines are, and how do you access those gold mines of information. Okay. And now moving on to the next phase, after we have performed information gathering and after we have obtained all this data is now utilized in the upcoming stages. So the next phase is called as scanning, which is also commonly known as enumeration. Okay. So I'm listing out the different names as well, guys, because different companies use different terminologies for the same processes sometimes. Okay. So that might seem a bit confusing. Okay. So I'm just trying to again explain you all what different terminologies might be used, okay, from different organizations. So now when you talk about scanning, this is the phase where you basically try to get some extra data, but by making active connections. Earlier we got the data passively. Here we get the data actively. So whatever IPs you obtain, whatever domains you obtain, whatever subdomains you might have obtained, whatever email addresses you might have obtained, all of those are now used to make direct connections on them. And you get some extra data. So to understand what data we get here, we can break down scanning in three parts. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. In network scanning, we figure out in the organization how many devices exist and what kind of devices exist. So basically, let's say if we take any sample organization for that matter, any MNC company, you try to first figure out what type of devices are they using. Are they using any firewalls? Are they using any security measures, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems? What type of web servers are they using? What type of FTP servers are they using? What other servers are they using? How many client operating system devices are running? So basically, you try to get an internal network topology of the organization. So that is called as network scanning, getting to know how many devices are active in that network. Once you know what devices are active, on those devices, you perform something called port scanning. Port scanning is where you're trying to figure out on those devices what ports are open and what services are running on those ports. Right? So there are multiple different types of services running. There are TCP-based services, UDP-based services. Okay? So we practically try to figure out what services are running on what ports, and again, basically what applications are using those services. Okay. Finally, once you've gotten information on what services and applications are running, you perform something called vulnerability scanning. This is the last phase of scanning where you try to figure out if any of these services or if any of these applications running on the system are vulnerable to any threats. Okay. So during this phase, we'll be using two very important tools, guys. One of them is called as Nmap. If I open up my browser here, just a second. Yeah, so one is called Nmap, which is basically a network and a port scanner, a very popular tool in cybersecurity, asked in a lot of job descriptions. Okay, been there since 1997, quite an old tool, but still used in the latest applications as its source code is still open source. Okay, and the other one is called Tenable Nessus. No, this is not open source, guys. This is a very expensive tool. Yeah, so, okay, and we'll practically be working on this tool as well. This is quite expensive actually. It's around $7,000 or so. Yeah, $7,500. Okay. And that only for 1 year subscription. So this tool is capable of telling you in your organization what different devices exist and on those devices what services are vulnerable to what sort of attacks. Okay, or what misconfigurations could be existing on your systems. So this can generate automated vulnerability reports, which are used by organizations to perform penetration testing. So it'll practically be learning how do you run vulnerability scanning using these tools. Okay. Once you have got the list of vulnerabilities, next phase is nothing but attacking on those vulnerabilities. That is nothing but your gaining access phase. So here, whatever information was obtained in the earlier phases is utilized by the hacker or the ethical hacker to gain access to the system or the application or the entire network. So you launch attacks here on the organization and try to attack various sorts of devices or services. Okay. And this here is the course content of the gaining access modules. Again, too many topics here, guys. Again, this is one of the core topics of the entire course, I would say. Okay. And again, too many topics here, so many words might seem a bit gibberish, but the main important takeaway here is to understand that we'll be learning how to attack each and every single endpoint. So we talk about system security, we talk about malware attacks, malicious software attacks, we talk about network security, attacks that could be possible in networks, such as sniffing attack, man in the middle attack, denial of service attack, hacking Wi-Fi routers. So all these attacks are used by again in the organizations by hackers to get access to remote data. Okay, so to basically to figure out what data is being sent in the organization, what data is being sent out of the organization, to capture that data. Okay, to overload the servers with huge amounts of traffic and deny their service. Okay, to crack Wi-Fi router passwords. And then social engineering attacks. How do hackers create fake websites and try to steal your credentials? And hacking web servers or web applications. So what vulnerabilities could exist on the front end and on the back end of a web application server? Okay. Then again, vulnerabilities on firewalls or intrusion detection systems or intrusion prevention systems, vulnerabilities on mobile phones. So basically, this phase involves you finding vulnerabilities on each and every endpoint, no matter as small as a mobile phone to as big as a web application server or a database. You try to find vulnerabilities on each and every device. Okay. That's the main agenda of the phase. And during these processes, we perform a lot of different attacks here. Okay, so these attacks might sound a bit gibberish today, but as we progress, we'll learn a lot more in depth on that. Okay. So the main concept over here is you're trying to find vulnerabilities in each and every system, and you're trying to figure out how to remediate them, how to remove those vulnerabilities as well. Okay. And once this is done, you have two last phases: maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. Okay. So when you talk about maintaining access here, guys, basically once I've hacked into your systems, once I've hacked, let's say, your phone, I need to maintain a persistent connection with that phone. So even if you restart your phone, I should still be connected to you. So that's called a persistent connection. So we'll be learning how do you perform these persistent connections and maintain access to the devices you have exploited or attacked. Okay. And finally comes reporting or clearing traces, where we learn as an ethical hacker how do you generate a report and how do you again report those vulnerabilities to the organization along with the solutions as well to eradicate those vulnerabilities? Or on the other hand, as a non-ethical hacker or cyber criminal, how do you remove the evidences of your actions? So the course will be running in two tracks, guys. We'll be learning the ethical hacking along with the hacking as well. So we learn how to perform these attacks first and how do you remove those again evidences of those attacks. And we also learn as an ethical hacker how do you capture those attacks and try to catch the hacker as well. Okay. So the entire course would be running in those two different formats at the same time simultaneously. Okay. And yeah, that would be the 5 phases of the entire hacking cycle, guys. The entire course is for a duration of 35 days, where we have classes from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour each at the same time slot, 8 o'clock. Okay. And I think we have only 2 more demos left out, maybe tomorrow and day after. And after that, we would have the registered full entire course classes. Okay. Although tomorrow we'll be taking the first class on the networking topic. So again, there's a few prerequisites for this course, guys, but luckily they are included in the course itself. I'll explain all the prerequisites myself, and then we dive into the ethical hacking concepts. Okay. So tomorrow's session will be covering basically what is networking, what are IP addresses, what are IPv4 addresses, what are DNS and DHCP protocols. We'll talk about all that first, and then we dive into other cybersecurity concepts. So that would be the session for tomorrow, guys. And yeah, as mentioned, the courses for a duration of 35 days. Maybe have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each. And you'll be getting these recordings, you'll be getting these presentation files, you'll be getting the documents, the tools, and everything. So you'll be also having a lab simulation on your own system itself. We'll have an exact lab simulation installed on my device and your device, and you can replicate the same attacks or practicals on your system. Okay. So there's a separate class for lab setup installation as well. Okay. So yeah, that concludes our session, a demo session for today, guys. Nothing further. If you have any questions also, you can let me know. Malikarjun, Mukesh. Hello.
No questions, sorry.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Uh,
actually, I'm confusing regarding that cybersecurity. It's because it's a huge syllabus.
right,
So, as per my knowledge, I have searched that CompTIA security and certified ethical hacker.
right.
So, from that, which on which path we are going forward?
Good question. So again, when you talk about cybersecurity, Mukesh, there are two different. Again, no matter what organization you take in the infrastructure of cybersecurity, there are two departments. One is called as SOC and one is called as NOC. So the ones you have mentioned, both CompTIA plus security, okay, and the certified ethical hacking, both of these focus on NOC, Network Operations Center. So figuring out in your organization and the network which devices contain what vulnerabilities and how do you protect your organization from these attacks. When you talk about SOC, that involves something called Security Operations Center Analysis. So you try to analyze the data that is coming in, analyze the data that is going out. So that involves you monitoring. Okay. So analysis of data and finding threats in that data is your SOC. NOC is basically finding vulnerabilities or misconfigurations in the networking devices. In any device, whatever device might exist in the organization, you finding vulnerabilities in them is related to NOC. Okay. And when we talk about the comparison, CompTIA is a much more theoretical course. Okay. And the other one, Certified Ethical Hacking, is from EC Council, which is a much more practical one with real time examples, hands on practicals, which are again relevant in today's industry. Okay. So that is why CEH is a much more preferable certification compared to CompTIA. And again, if you prepare for CompTIA, you might not be able to write the CH exam. But if you prepare for CH, you can write CompTIA's exam or CH exam and you'll pass both. Okay. So that's the relevance.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Okay. Assuming no questions, guys, I think we can disconnect here. And yeah, please do join the session tomorrow. That'll be on networking, the first class of our official courses. And that would give you a much better understanding of how classes are going on. And if you're interested, you can continue further on from there. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Nothing further, guys. I think we can exit here. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay, Anand, I think there's no one else available. Yesterday, a lot of students joined for the demo. And I thought, again, we took a demo on certified ethical hacking, basically explaining what the course is about and what topics we'll be covering throughout the course. Okay. And again, what the main agenda is of a cybersecurity professional in their day-to-day life and the organization. So that's what we covered yesterday. And today we were supposed to be starting networking fundamentals, one of the first prerequisites for cybersecurity. But since you didn't join the session yesterday, let me just give you a quick explanation on what the course is about. Okay. Because again, you just need, again, you have no clue maybe until now what certified ethical hacking is and what the course contents are. Okay. So if I open up that presentation file, just a second. Yeah. So when we talk about this course, certified ethical hacking, the current version running right now is version 30. Every few years, the version gets updated, and newer topics and newer technologies, which are again relevant, again prevalent in the cybersecurity domain, are added to this course. And the older ones, which are not again working out anymore, the older techniques of hacking or the older procedures of securing the organization which are not acceptable now are removed. And those courses are updated from time to time by this organization called PC Council, one of the most well-recognized organizations on the internet available today, basically to provide as understanding what hacking is and what ethical hacking is. Now, a lot of students might have a misconception that they're one and the same. But again, no, that's a wrong thought. When you talk about hacking, it is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. So if I were a hacker, I hack into your devices, I get access to your devices and the data in it. And all of this is done illegal, without your permission, without your knowledge. I try to steal your data. And when you talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, this is the procedure of protecting those devices from getting hacked. So you basically try to find the loopholes, the vulnerabilities in the systems, and you report it back to the company so that they can apply the necessary security patch. So these vulnerabilities are what lead to cyber threats, to these cyber attacks. So your job as an ethical hacker is to find those vulnerabilities, the reasons for those cyber attacks, and prevent them from happening in the first place. Okay. And again, for this, we'll be following a procedure called the cyber kill chain. So cyber kill chain or hacking cycle or kill chain itself are the different terminologies used. This is the procedure that is followed by hackers to perform a successful cyber attack. And we, as cybersecurity professionals, follow the same procedure and understand how these attacks are being performed. And we also try to prevent these attacks at the earliest stage possible. Okay. So understanding how to hack a device itself will let you know how do you protect that device from, not again, those cyber attacks itself. So again, hacking cycle is basically used by both hackers and ethical hackers to attack or prevent those attacks in the organization. And this entire hacking cycle consists of 5 separate steps. So the first step is called as information gathering. Then you have scanning, then you have gaining access, then you have maintaining access, and then you have reporting or clearing traces. Those are the 5 steps that are followed in any organization to perform a proper penetration test, to perform a check of basically if any system contains a vulnerability, and if it does contain a vulnerability, how do you remediate it? And if you notice on the last step, there are 2 different terminologies, reporting or clearing traces. The reason being, no matter what category of a hacker you are, whether a cybersecurity professional or a cyber criminal, first 4 steps are exactly similar. There is no change in the procedure in the first 4 steps. What changes or where the variation comes is basically the last step. If you're an ethical hacker, you report the vulnerabilities to the organization. On the other hand, if you're a black hat hacker, a cyber criminal, you don't report anything. You try to remove the evidences of your actions. And that, in simple terms, is called as clearing traces. And again, in the last class, I did explain each of these terminologies one by one. I've explained what information gathering is, what is scanning, what is gaining access, what is maintaining access, and what is reporting or clearing traces. So again, this is what we have covered in the last session, actually. So again, you can access that session on YouTube itself. There is a recording available for it. So every session is being recorded and it is being uploaded on YouTube. Okay, so you can access the session from there for the session yesterday. Okay. So again, I think there must be a lot more strength tomorrow since this is the month of Ramadan. I think that is causing a clash with the timings with a lot of students. But yeah, that should get rectified in a few days. And once we have a better strength, we'll be taking a much longer session in the upcoming days. Anand. But today we can just have it as a Q&A call. So if you have any questions
Sure, sir.
regarding cybersecurity, you can let me know and I can clarify your questions. Oh, one more important point. If you have a question regarding the duration, the courses for an entire duration of 35 days. We have classes from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour each. Okay. And you will be getting all these recordings on your email. You'll be getting these presentation files. You'll be getting the materials. And again, it's a more of a practical course. So it's in a 30-70 ratio. First 30% of the course, we have mostly theoretical topics. Remaining 70% is all hands-on practicals with the same tools that are used in organizations. And you will have a lab setup simulation on your end, on your device itself, which you can access anytime. It will be an exact replica of the simulation that I have on my system, which is more than sufficient to understand how to use these tools in an organization. So completely practical course explaining what, again, cybersecurity is, what hacking is, and what ethical hacking is, and the day-to-day operations of a cybersecurity professional. Okay. And yeah, again, once this course is done, you will be ready to write the certification exam. So the main agenda is you're ready to again pass or get certified with this certification called Certified Ethical Hacking. Okay. So again, if you're planning on writing a certification, you will be eligible to write that one once this course is done. Any other questions also, guys?
So can I get the course content?
Yeah, again, you can let me drop it in the chat box itself. I think it's available on the official website as well. But just in case, let me drop the file from here itself. Just a second. Yeah, I've dropped the file in the chat box. The course duration, as mentioned, is for 35 days, guys. From Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour session each day. Did you get the file on the documentation? Fee is 8,000 rupees, guys. So again, that is, I would say, the lowest price available at this institute or any institute for that matter. I've been training for a lot of institutes in my past. I currently train for this Durga of one institute and another one in Bangalore as well. Wouldn't want to name them, but their price is more than double what Durgasoft is providing it for. It's the same content, the same trainer, but again, I think it's just